Welcome to another episode of Where the Stones Have a Story to Tell. We're following up our prior episode on the concept of ritually destroyed prayer seats given to us by authors in the 1980s, Mavor and Dix, in their book Manitou. U-shaped cairns or prayer seats were known to be used, at least by Mavor and Dix, for shaman vision quests, possibly time to recharge energy for medicine people, coming-of-age ceremonies. Generally, they were very, very sacred structures. Their theory was occasionally they would see one, potentially like this, that had been seemingly ritually destroyed. And they either postulated or found some researcher information that that would happen at the end of a shaman's last vision quest. They don't cite any information about that. So I wanted to follow up with another example, and I've got one more after this that we'll see. However, in the meantime, I've consulted a resident expert on the topic, Mary and James Gage, probably the foremost researchers, most prolific researchers and publishers of information around Native American ritual structures. Happened to be in contact with them about an upcoming episode I'm planning, and I asked Mary about the last episode, what she thought of the concept, and she had 2 points that I thought were very important I wanted to bring up in this episode. One, she felt that these were not destroyed as I had postulated, or maybe Mavor and Dix had postulated, that they were caved in on itself at the end of their use. She believed that stones were picked up and placed in there. The nuance of the difference is that one is a closure of the seat, and the other is the destruction of the seat. So I thought that was an interesting distinction from her observation. Also, she questioned Mavor and Dix's focus on a vision quest as the purpose of the prayer seat. In general, though, she said, I noticed that that prayer seat faced toward sunrise of the winter solstice. And she asked, do you really think shaman are out in the middle of the winter having vision quests in frozen prayer seats? I'm paraphrasing her terminology. So she thought that there may be other uses for these prayer seats besides simply vision quests. As I mentioned, we do know that they were used for coming-of-age ceremony, shamans' use of them for meditation, and medicine people using them for essentially recharging of their healing energy. With that, let's take a close-up look of this and one more structure to see if we happen to have the 3 that gets us to past 1 being anomaly, 2 a cultural anomaly, and 3 is a pattern. Let's check it out.
So as we approach with the GoPro, we can see what could appear to just be a pile of stones. What we're really looking for is the outline and the remnants of the outline of that U shape, with, of course, some stones either placed or pushed down into it. As we go around, we can continue to see the edges of that U-shape outline toward the back, and proceed over to the other side. This is a good view of what that looks like. That's pretty well intact wall from what was originally likely a U-shaped cairn. So let's go to the LiDAR, and you can now see superimposed that U-shape remnant to the original structure. But there's a bunch of stones in the middle that make it look totally different. As we look at this from different angles in the LiDAR, we can see that the stones that have come down on this are all in the middle, in the U shape, not behind it, in front of it, or to the sides. Now let's look at a side-by-side comparison. The one on the left was from the last episode, our first closed cairn. Very clean U shape filled with stones. The one on the right, a little more broken down, but we can still see the original remnant of the U-shaped cairn with the stones in the middle. I think we've got 2 of a kind here, so let's check out the next one. Like the other 2, you're going to see that outline of the U with stones broken down into the middle. It's a little more broken down than the other 2. I think this is the oldest of the 3. I think the first one from the last episode is actually the newest. You can see soil actually built up all around this. And soil, to be created, takes thousands of years. So I think this is a very old prayer seat, but you can see here with that superimposed U shape that is a remnant of a prayer seat with stones in the middle. Let's take a look at all three side by side. I think the first one on the left is the most intact, if you will. The one in the middle, I think, is relatively clear-cut as well. The one on the right is much older, could have been broken down over time, or those stones could have been placed in the center. That's harder to tell, but that one definitely has a ton of soil built around it and is super old.
There we have it. Do we have three examples of ritually closed prayer seats? And if we do, is it really evidence of a ceremony or practice that is at least 3,000 years old? Well, if the Yurok tribe left the St. Lawrence area 3,000 years ago, and they were performing this type of ritual, and we have evidence of it here in Gilbert Hills State Forest in Massachusetts, then it stands to reason that it predated the point of their departure. And we do have something that is almost as old as the ancient Egyptian pyramids. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you.